Isn't it easier to live life as someone else? As if you were watching a movie through the eyes of a character you created, a character that can take all the blows the world throws at you. Not the world, people.
Don't abandon me.
Let's get this straight right off the bat. This isn't an autobiography. It does blur the line between Marilyn's life as we know it and the fiction we see, but the true facts are spicier than the whole dish. In the film, Norma Jean made Marilyn Monroe her alter ego. In this way, every failure would reflect on Marilyn, and so would every success. Norma Jean keeps her identity to herself and doesn't let it corrupt her. Similar to the Greek religion, where artists, scientists, and all other people who created something were persuaded that every idea is an idea whispered and given to them by the genie. So when they fail, it's really the genie that fails, and when the idea succeeds, they remain humble. Andrew Dominic, the director of Blonde, said in an interview, "Marilyn is both an armor and a prison, which is what makes her so relatable. We're our own guards, we're the jury, and we're the executioners of the worst kind. We see courage and fear as opposites or confidence and self-doubt as opposites, but the truth is, when we accept both as our companions, we remain humble, try harder and seek for more knowledge, and enjoy the journey, unlike Marilyn, who accepted only self-doubt as her ally, as if she were born to it, while most of us only accept it out."
Look at them up there, shining so brightly. And yet each one is so very much alone.
Now we come to my favorite part and the one I most related to as a woman. Society's expectations versus my ambitions. I know. I'm a strong, independent woman and I can do what I want. But when I turned 30, all I saw was everything I wasn't, and not what I was. The checklist of society's expectations was empty. I lived with my parents. I didn't have a partner. People around me questioned my sexual preferences because I didn't go on dates. I don't have kids. And I'm still looking for a job where I would fulfill myself. But here's what I do have. A strong relationship with my family. I'm loyal and a good friend. I make sure I stay in touch with my childhood friend. I meditate a lot. And I'm working on finding the path that will lead me to my big dreams. And you know what? I'm a good person. So why was I looking at everything I wasn't when I was on the path I wanted to be in? The answer is, I forgot to enjoy the journey. I forgot to appreciate who I'm at this moment. To go back to Marilyn in Blonde, she was torn between being the dream wife who cooks and lives in a small house and has a providing husband and at least 2 kids, between being the damn movie star she was. She was so ambitious and so self-doubting that she wanted to learn from everyone. That made her humble and open to new techniques and ideas. And that, in my humble opinion, is what makes a person smart. To be open to learning and growing.
I'm not a star. I'm just some blonde.
Favorite shot? The bluntest shot I've ever seen in a movie is the one where Marilyn is going down on President Kennedy. An extreme close-up of Marilyn as her head goes up and down, her mouth open for so long it hurts my jaws, and we hear her inner monologue, how she pretends it's a scene. She turned this horrible experience into playing pretend, not real. And that's one of the ways people deal with trauma.
Who brought me here? To this place? Was it Marilyn? Or is it a movie scene? I'm playing the part of a famous blonde actress, meeting the boyishly handsome leader of the free world.
Throughout the movie, cracks appeared in my heart, but at that moment my heart broke. For Marilyn and for all sex victims who have ever been hurt and continue to be hurt. And now for the subject I know nothing about as a woman, hormones. I was born with it, but don't understand it. Marilyn suffered from endometriosis. The truth is that I had to Google it. Unfortunately, the disease isn't very well known, and even doctors don't diagnose it when they send women for psychological treatment and give them addictive painkillers. Even today, the disease isn't very well known, so no one knew how to deal with it back then. Endometriosis has several hats, and the ones Marilyn suffers from are the excruciating pain during her period and the struggle to have a child. It's said that the pain was so bad that she had to stop driving and lay down on the sidewalk in pain. I think all Marilyn wanted in her life was love. Love from her mother, from neighbors, from a husband, from directors and producers, and love from viewers. But she needed love from herself. Why is it that we need to learn to love ourselves? We're born with self-love and then lose it along the way. Why do we lose it? Why do we prefer to receive love from the outside world? rather than from our inner world. I suppose it's easier and faster, and since no one tells us the truth, we ignore everything we don't like about ourselves and continue to play the character the other person sees in us. In some ways, that's liberating. In some ways, it's painless, and in some ways, it numbs the truth. Another point I want to make is that I grew up with an unexplainable obsession with Hollywood and stars. Marilyn's life was always a part of mine, a legend I knew everything about, and I think she would have loved the film. It's bold and unapologetic, full of life and a celebration of emotion, just like Marilyn was. On screen and off. The desire to live on screen as a colorful character with so much to give the audience, almost as if that's the only way she could really give people love. Laughter, questions, sometimes tears, and when things get dramatic, all the lights and music are in place to punctuate the emotions. And off-screen, Norma Jean is a young woman learning to accept and forgive herself, embracing life. Had she had more time on Earth, Norma Jean would have learned that it's her imperfections that made her perfect. In other words, Norma Jean would have learned to love herself. The public portrays Marilyn as a white woman who was victimized in a man's world, but Norma Jean wasn't. Norma Jean was a dreamer, and through Marilyn, she managed to live in her creation. She chose to stay kind and focused on her work. She struggled all her life with endometriosis, self-doubt, and disappointment from people, yet she continued to give her trust away, like a grandma who gives candy to children. And do not doubt this decision. What is life worth if you lose faith in people?
I wish I could just hide in your arms. Forever and ever in your arms.
The cinematography is beautiful, film noir mixed with modern fantasy. Many memories are recreated and make us feel that we're with her for a moment. The happy life on the beach or the iconic moments on the street when the wind stirs up her dress. To be honest, I don't know why the movie got such bad reviews. It's the first movie in years that made me feel, the one that made me think, that made me ask questions. It seemed like society was treading water as time went on. And the film isn't afraid to stand by its bold choices, something that has been lost in many films today. Perhaps the film addresses everything I'm afraid of, being misunderstood, being controlled, and relying too much on the opinions of others, being my own worst armor in prison. I feel like everything I'm saying is a bit chaotic, but maybe that fits the movie. Emotional chaos. Marilyn was and still is an icon in our culture, and so she belongs to everyone. And I think that gives the makers of Blonde the freedom to not stick to the facts and not write an autobiography. And let's face it, every autobiography that has been made in recent years has been aimed at being interesting enough for a 2-hour movie. I won't name names, but some have hidden the truth and created beautiful lies to shape what we know about the singer and actress as a person. I think we must strive to be good and kind. For some, that's easier than for others, like Marilyn, who held her heart good. It's so obvious I almost forgot to add, Ana de Armas, thank you. You managed to inspire by pouring your talent into the scream, and you cannot hide your true heart behind your big eyes. Thank you for existing, and good luck at the Oscars. If you do not win, I will have to send a very angry letter to the Academy.
Oh no. It must be awfully strange to be a hero.